everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, you guys. It's Ali. Where's Ali, y'all? And where's Ali? Literally, that is like the subject. The title for today is where in the HE double hockey sticks is Ali? So, from the title, y'all probably already guessed that I left Ecuador. So it was time. It was time to move on. Hold on, you guys. I feel like I'm either fuzzy or the video. My protective screen is in the way, but whatever. So, you guys, all right, ask questions if you need to. Y'all know I am a nomad, like really nomading right now. My channel is about my nomadic journey. Trying to build nomadic like lives, nomadic circles around this world. I'm trying, y'all. So if you're out here, you're out and about, you see me, say what's up to you, girl. If you don't, follow me on my YouTube, like, subscribe, and share if you guys don't mind. That helps grow my channel, especially if you like this information. I'm trying to just keep y'all up to date with the happenings, the goings on. So today I thought I would go live and share the traveling woes, as we would call them, because they happen. You know, everybody thinks that nomadic travel, nomadic journeying and stuff is like so glamorous. Like, oh my God, it is sometimes. But more times than not, it's like there's a lot happening, right? There's a lot of moving parts. There's just a lot of things that, as a nomad that's not sitting in one place, I think a lot of things that we deal with and experience and go through that is a little bit different than, you know, vacation travel or relocating long term, immigrating. Yeah, I'm gonna stop using the word expat. Well, expat, if you literally expatriate, like give up your residency, and start using immigration. Because we're just literally immigrants around the world. I'm a nomadic immigrant. Trying to make my way around this world. Find my space. Find my people. And trying to share that with you guys as I go. So let me see. Let me flip my camera really quick. I am sitting up at the upstairs part of a coffee shop. I got my little aloe water, matcha tea, and a dona manzana verde. Yeah, they didn't have no fruit, so that's as close as I got. It was the only thing that had fruit in it. So here we go. So this is where I am, and I'll be sharing more of Ecuador. I'm actually working on a Montanita video for you guys. And I'll follow up with a Cuenca video, and you know, just let y'all know the deal. Okay, so let me share with you guys what happened. I decided to vacate Ecuador, call it quits, so to speak. I had my fun. I had a blast. Thank you to everyone who I met, who welcomed me, who showed me around, who, you know, all the good stuff. Who hung out with me my last week. I'll post some videos and stuff of that. My last night hanging out. It was good times. The benefit of joining groups can be really cool. Kind of up there with organic meetings with people. So anyway, it was time for me to go. And so, long story short, I had already bought a ticket because one thing I think I mentioned, I don't even know if I mentioned it in my Ecuador basic things to know videos. You are required to show onward travel. And I had completely forgotten when I was flying from Panama. And so anyway, I had to buy a ticket. because I forgot about onward ticket. Like, I just couldn't get my mind right because I was at the counter trying to get it done, and they wouldn't give me my boarding pass without me showing that, and it was kind of packed. And I was just like, oh my god, oh my god. And I have the, did I have the app on this phone? Anyway, so I ended up buying an actual ticket. I bought like a really cheap ticket, and a cheap ticket was from Quito to Bogota. So I bought it, and I bought it on an airline that allows you to, I ended up getting the ticket that I could just change it indefinitely however many times with no penalty. Note to self, note to y'all, FYI, I changed my travel dates 3 times with no penalty. You basically just have to pick one that a trip that is equivalent to yours, or you pay the difference. Hey, Sonia. Right, that was Sonia, right? What's up? The message disappeared. So I'll show you my street view. I'm at a coffee shop having a coffee. I just walked around the entire town trying to find ATM because I had no cash. I'm gonna tell y'all everything. This is why I have cardinal rules. I have rules about engagement when you are traveling places. And I'm gonna explain why these rules, because what happened yesterday is why I have these rules for myself, and I didn't even follow it because I was going to, but I didn't know that I only had one chance. You got one shot. So anyway, it was time for me to leave Ecuador and make my way, and I was in Manta, so I could either take a bus or fly to Quito, and so I ended up booking a flight from Manta to Quito. Note to you guys, anybody traveling through Ecuador, they have an amazing bus system. Their flight system isn't as robust. They have some limiting flights in like the coastal cities because a lot of people, it's very local in Ecuador. And so a lot of people don't catch flights. There's a lot of bus travel. So I get it why it's not like totally built up. I think they are building a new Manta airport facility or whatever, but right now it's like really rinky-dinky, kind of small, well, really small. So with that being said, they only have 2 airlines that fly in and out of Manta, and that's Latam and Avianca, which isn't necessarily a problem unless, well, I mean, they have basically a couple flights a day, I think, like a morning flight, and this is like in my price range because I'm budgeting. I'm not going to pay, it's a 40-minute flight, 36 to 40-minute flight. I'm not paying $400. I mean, unless it's an emergency, I'm not paying that much money. So I was trying to stay, they advertise like $59. If you carry a bag, it's going to be $100. So anyway, when you upgrade, it ends up being about $85 to $90, which, okay, it is what it is. So I either had to get on a 8 a.m., 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. flight, or wait until like 6 or 7 p.m. at night, which means that if I flew to Quito, that means I would spend the night in Quito and then have to fly out to Bogota the next day. And I don't think when I changed my flight that there was flights out of Quito that matched my price range. So I was also trying to deal with that original ticket that I had bought. So I ended up doing the 8 a.m. flight, which then put me in Quito at 9 a.m., right? My flight wasn't until 3:51 p.m., which is fine. So I ended up booking, I'm going to tell y'all all these little knick-knack things that you need to know about, like airports and stuff, because every airport is different. So they gave me like 5 to 6 hours before my next flight. So I booked through house sitters. I used the benefits of the lounge pass, and so I bought a lounge pass for $29. Interestingly enough, you can only stay in for 3 hours is what they say, but they don't come and check, so I don't know how they would know that you were there longer, right? Or what they would do if they saw you walk out later. I don't know. And I posted a little snippet of the lounge. It was really, really nice. Food, drinks, sit and chill. They actually have an outside area, but it was raining. But this is the kicker. So when I bought the lounge pass, you have to pick a date and a time that you're going to enter. Well, technically, you're only supposed to be allowed in at that time. So I picked a time like an hour and a half or so after we landed, because I was thinking, okay, I'll wait, check in, then go to the lounge. Okay. In Ecuador, and it's not necessarily Ecuador because I've seen this in other places, but just be aware that, and I've normally, well, I think we probably do it in the States too, but ticket counters literally don't open, even though they tell you to get to an airport 3 hours early. They're not going to be available for you. They're not there. The ticket counter ain't open. You can't go in, so you can't check in. So I literally had to sit downstairs until 1 o'clock. So when I read my lounge pass, I was like, are they even going to let me in at this point, right? And they basically have it's up to their discretion. I can't change it. You can't change less than 24 hours, or whatever. So if they open at 1, the ticket booth at 1, then it's like, okay, I got to rush to get through and try to get to the lounge and all that, and see if they'll let me in. So, just FYI, there are a lot of places that, and they won't even let you into the area per se, which makes sense because there ain't nobody at the ticket counter. So, why should you be meandering around? So, sat around for 4 hours. Almost 4, because they opened before 1. Let me tell y'all what I forgot to do. And all that time sitting and getting things done, and the days before, making sure I had all my tickets, had my PCR test, had my check mig done, and I'll tell you about all that stuff too. All of that, having all of that stuff done, making sure I had it screenshot. I didn't print anything, but had it screenshot and had access to all of because I ended up with 3 flights. Make sure I had my boarding passes printed on my phone, all kinds of stuff. Why did I forget to get my onward ticket for Colombia? Oh, so I'm in Colombia, if y'all don't know. Because I'm figuring I'm right next door, why not come? I'm right here, right? Even though I've heard some, ups and highs and lows about being here, and I was like, let me just check it out myself. Well, I knew you had to have a forwarding ticket. Some people say you do, some people say you don't. So get it, because they probably will ask. And technically they do this at check-in. So these are going to be the variances that you'll see in places, right? So check-in only wants to see your onward ticket. So I ended up having to buy one, and I just got an onward ticket, even though I'm probably going to the place I bought it for. I'd rather be able to be flexible with my dates. So I got the ticket, got checked in. That took like an extra 15 minutes because I could not get my data to work, right? It's a whole bunch of stuff I ain't gonna tell y'all. That's getting up at 6. No, I had to get to the airport at 6. They tell you to be there at 6. Oh, I forgot to tell you that part. In Manta, they won't even let you into the airport area. You have to sit outside. So your waiting area is outside. And then you check in, and it's just one big room because it's so small. But they tell you to get there 2 hours early. But they're not there 2 hours early. Anyway, trying to follow safety guidelines around these parts. So then I get checked in, finally. Get downstairs through the airport, figure out where my gate is. I'm that person. I want to know conceptually where I'm going. Proximity wise, because I always typically go and get something to drink or sit and chill. And I normally sit away from the gate, so I'm not there the whole time, especially if it's that long. Well, at this point I only have maybe 2 hours to sit. So I go into the lounge. The lounge is really nice, really awesome space. So I don't think they had any of their spa services open or anything like that, but you could shower if you needed to. But it wasn't set up. It wasn't big enough like a spa room. So they had just that basic bathroom with a shower in it. But what you can do there is you can book multiple lounges. So of course you're going to pay for it unless you get the house sitter, like you have it. So my credit card that I use does not have a lounge in Quito, but Lounge Pass has lounges everywhere, and they had three types of lounges. They have domestic, international, and then they have like a basic one. So you could literally go to the basic one. I could have gone to the basic one. I don't even know where, if it's inside the check-in or whatever, but I could have extended and gone to that one, right? So that's just little tidbits, like read the fine print, honestly, because you could go and be like, what the heck? And I'll just say this, it's not like the lounge in Qatar. It ain't that nice, but it was nice. It was, really nicely set up. Staff is very professional. You would think you're in a 5-star restaurant, all of that. And the food was good. Like, it had flavor. I was just like, I was so surprised. All right, so I did that, and then I went down to catch my first flight. This was my second flight. So my flight from Quito to Bogota. Now, as I'm walking through Quito, I'm like, oh, I should change cambio dinero. And I was like, nah, it's probably going to be a better rate if I do it when I get to Colombia. So I'm like, I'll wait. I had all that time, right? So I could have. Can't get a SIM card yet, so, I'll have to get one when I get to Bogota. That's my whole thing is, okay, I'll get one when I get to Bogota. Each of these flights the longest flight was Ecuador to Bogota, and that was like an hour 20 minutes, hour 40 minutes maybe. It wasn't even that long. So my total flight time for the day was probably 4 hours or less than, like 3.5 hours for 3 flights. But it was a full day. Like, I didn't get to a hotel I ended up finding until 12:30 a.m. due to all of my debacles. So, get on the flight to Bogota, and I flew Wingo. So I flew Avianca, Wingo, and Latam. And Wingo was the longest flight, and it was international, and they gave us like some saltines. I swear, no, nothing to drink, just saltines, which I saved because you never know what's gonna happen. Save your saltines, y'all. So, let's see what time it is because I gotta check out in an hour. So after that flight, that went well. Then you go through customs. So keep in mind, you guys, I also am not traveling light. Even though I have a backpack, it's a checked backpack. So it's because I have no idea how long I'm going to be on this journey. The last time it was it was literally a year from, a little bit over a year from my last pop back into the U.S., right? So I figure I could be gone a year. So I packed for that, right? And so I have a big 65-liter backpack, and then I have a rolling backpack, so I don't, have all these bags on my back. And it's a backpack, but it's a roller. Mad about that. So if anybody's coming, I need to get a different one because they lied about the size. It ain't big enough. So, and a collapsible backpack, just in case. So I get there, now I've got my MIG thing. Okay, so when I was going to Bogota, the only thing they asked for was my onward ticket. They didn't ask for the PCR test or anything. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. Let's see. So I get on the flight and everything. Nobody asked for it. And I was like, okay, maybe it's just random. Or maybe it's because I took so long trying to get my onward ticket going that she just forgot to ask. I don't know. So once you get in and you go through customs, y'all know you go through customs first, right? So you go through customs and you don't get a form. You know how you get that entry form when you're coming into a country, that like T7? You don't get that going into Colombia. At least I didn't. Nobody on my plane did. There's nothing to fill out when you get there. You just have to have, they basically tell you to have all your information, have all your, where you're traveling to and all this. Now keep in mind, when you fill out the check MIG, so it's check migration document that most countries use, you put in your passport number, you put in your address of work, because they want to know where you're going to be staying. They want to know how long you're staying or something like that. They ask a few questions, right? And so you put the address of where you're going. So you kind of at least have to have something documented, or, an idea of where you plan on staying. I don't know that they check that, but I think it does link to your passport. And the reason I say this is because when I got up to the custom counter, she didn't ask me for my check MIG document, but the lady in line asked me for my Vax card. Now, Colombia, this is the key part that everybody wants to know. Colombia is no longer requiring your Vax, but they ask you for it like they are. Don't panic. Just make sure you have your PCR test, okay? When I showed it to her, she was like, oh, And then she looked in and she was like, welcome to Colombia, right? So that's when she asked. But the guy that was next to me, she didn't ask him for his. And I don't know if he was, because he was like trying to walk past me or whatever. So they stand in line and they kind of, I think, randomly ask people if they have it. Whether or not the customs staff will ask you, officers will ask you, I don't know. She didn't ask me for my PCR, just a lady in the as you're walking through the little maze or whatever. So they don't know. It's not like they check anything and say, yeah, this person is cleared, to go through. So it's really, really random. So just make sure you have it. I was in Ecuador. My PCR was $38. Now the sucky part is in the U.S. PCR tests are $128. So that's the sucky part. Is the U.S. is now taking advantage of places still requiring a PCR test. So get up to the customs counter. She asks me very specific questions. She asks them all in Spanish. I did let her know that I speak poco español. Lo siento. Sorry. And so she just spoke a little bit more clear, but she still spoke in Spanish, right? So she did say passport. I mean, I can. If you say pasaporte, I know that. But a lot of times they speak in full sentences, and I don't know the full sentence. I can get catchwords and stuff, and based on situational things, I can figure out what they're asking or what they're saying. And so she was asking me how long I was staying, not how long I was staying, where I was going, what city, because she was like, she didn't really say donde. They use a different term when they ask you where you're staying. So like the basic Spanish that we be learning, they made the words they use. It's like slang, but at the customs office. And so she was asking me, but I caught what she was saying, and I was like, "See, Kali," and then she asked me something else, and what she was asking me was the information that was on my check MIG. And so, because I was like, "How do you know when I walk up here that I'm going to Cali?" Because I'm in Bogota at this point, right? So the check MIG, they must, when you enter that and you get the QR code that ties to your girl Duolingo. Listen, I got Duolingo, and I'm gonna try italki. Some people here told me to try italki, and I'm gonna tell you how. I've been to countries where people don't speak any English. This was something else. This was very interesting, but it was primarily my fault because we're gonna get to it. Yeah, Duolingo. So the thing with Duolingo in some of those apps is they teach you vocabulary, right? But so what I'm trying to find is just a flashcard app, and none of them are good. Where I just literally learn vocabulary. The problem with Duolingo is you can slow it down or you can say it fast, and even their fast is too slow and it's not mumbo. It's not mumble, like mumble rap. It's not like that. Like, it's very clear and concise. Like, you can hear every letter. Nobody talks like that. Even in Mexico, don't nobody talk like that. Enunciate. They don't do that. Everything is like, even when I'm on an airplane and they're talking and over the intercom and everything is like, and I'm like, do they get paid for how fast they get through the announcements? Because I'm just like, why in the world? Like, is like a sentence one word? Like, it's just a whole run on. And I was like, is that what we sound like? Maybe that's what we sound like in English, right? So in any case, she asked me very specific things that immediately made me say, oh, the check MIG tied to my passport. So when she scanned my passport, she knew it. So they're basically just verifying, right? So know a little bit so that you can catch on and understand and hear, right? She just said that. She was like, Kali, see, whatever, boom. And she stamped me and she was like, welcome. And I was good. I was in. So that took 2.2 seconds. So then next, I had to go and get my bag. Now, this is where how my decision making didn't pan out right for me. So I'm like, we're in Bogota airport. There's got to be SIM card places, data places, right? This is the issue. So when you come through, the first thing I noticed when I came through customs is you go down this hall and you can't really, like the out and there's another hall you could go left or go straight, and it doesn't really say, it just says exit. But I know I want to do connecting. Even though I'm picking up my bag, I'm still connecting domestically, so I'm not connecting international. So you just look for certain words, domestic or internationalis. And so I knew I didn't want the internationalis when I wanted the domestic, which is why you go through customs. If you're going international, you don't have to go through customs at that point, right? So just little tidbits if for new time travelers and stuff. So I'm going through, and to my right is the first exchange place that I've seen, and the first SIM card place. So there were only two. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to stop here. Let me go get my bag because I need to see what the check-in thing is, because I have another flight, right? And I want to do all this and offload. And I'm like, I'm in Bogota Airport. There's got to be other options. That's what I said to myself. That's what myself said. So I decided to go ahead and get my check bag. And that takes however long that took for them to, send the stuff through. I got my bag, and I'm walking through, and you walk into the big part of the airport, and I'm like, all right, bet. But at this point, nothing tells you like where you're going. So even when you look at the board, it kept saying T1. And when I think of the US, I think of international terminals when I think of T1, right? And I was like, that's really strange. And on my check-in, I haven't checked in yet, so I don't even have a boarding pass. But I knew where I was going, so I was looking for where are the Cali gates at? Like, where are the Avianca gates? Where's the departure gates? Like, where we at? Because people over there's restaurants and all that. There were no other SIM card places downstairs in this area, but there was an upstairs. And I was like, okay, let me go upstairs. That's got to be it. It's got to be upstairs, right? Because mostly departures are usually upstairs, arrivals are downstairs, right? Okay, just follow this trend. So I go upstairs, and I'm just milling around trying to find like the Avianca desk so I can check in. Boom, found that. How was my check-in? That part seems like a blur. But in the interim of being up there, and I had been in the Bogota airport before, because when I flew from Panama, we stopped in Bogota, and I had like 2 hours in Bogota then. So I thought I was familiar with the setup, but I swear for God, it's like different every time. So of course, domestics is different than the international part. So anyway, I'm upstairs. I'm trying to go domestic, so I'm not even in the international area of the airport. But I'm thinking at some point I'm going to pass an exchange booth and a SIM card booth. And I almost think what happens is there's an assumption that if you're flying domestically from city to city, you live there. You don't need an exchange. You don't need a SIM card. If I would have gone to the international side, I guarantee you they would have been boom, boom, boom lined up, right? Didn't occur to me then. So at this point, I still have only seen one SIM card place and one exchange. I can't go back though, because it's in the area where the customs is. I've already walked out, so I can't go back, right? There ain't no, once you go out the outdoor, ain't no coming back in the outdoor. So I was like, okay. I was like, it's cool. Let me get checked in and get ready to go. Because now I realize it's 6:25. My flight's supposed to leave at 8. They say you board at 7 something. I was like, that's a whole hour early. So once you get checked in, you're right at security. There's really nowhere else to go, right? So I go through, not realizing I probably should have just stayed on the other side, but I still don't know. Like, I don't know this side of the airport, and I'm big on find your gate. Like, know where your gate is, especially in different countries, because they do things differently. So I go through the checkpoint, security. Should be okay. It should be okay, right? There should be some things over there that I can get. So they had like stores all the way down, food places, not one, because that was the other thing. It's like, okay, I don't need an exchange place. An ATM. Do you know, I did not see not one ATM from the time I got off the plane from Ecuador to Bogota to me checking in to get on my flight to Cali. Not one ATM. Not one, because I was like, I'll just go to the ATM and get some cash. Because one thing is the money is different, and pretty much primarily everywhere they use, COP, the Colombian money. pesos. And so I was like, okay, this is really strange. And so I can't get a SIM card. I was messaging the my Airbnb host, letting them know all the stuff. Flight gate changed, which I didn't even know. Like, I was sitting there waiting because it's so packed. It was just so packed. So I was outside of the area because I'm not gonna sit in an area with 500 people, right? And I go up to, because it's about the time, it's 7:20, so I'm thinking we're boarding. They call group one, and I happen to be in group one. I mean, I understand enough of it that I know what they say. So I went up, and my ticket didn't go through, and he was like, "Oh, wrong flight." And I looked up, and I was just like, it's not cuatro zero. I didn't say it in 4,038. I was like 83. I was like cuatro zero ocho tres. And he was like, "Oh no, they don't have anything up there." So I go to a big board to find out. No, I go to a big board, but I also have checked my flight status on my phone. That hadn't updated. It kept saying that the flight was at 8:05 or whatever, 8:05. And I was like, okay, there's not even a plane outside. But they're boarding for this flight, and he's telling me this is not my flight. So I go and look at the board. The flight has changed gates. So I go down to the gate. It's packed. We packed in there like Haitians. So I go and I look at the board, and I'm standing there for about 5 minutes. I notice everybody keeps looking at the board and turning around, looking at the board, turning around. And I was like, because I'm standing behind the board. So I was like, let me go look at this board one more time. I look at the board, flight's delayed. So it must have just changed. So the flight's delayed. So now here I'm thinking, well, dang, I could have stopped, because I still have yet to find an ATM, exchange machine, because I do have USD cash from Ecuador, or a SIM card, right? So I'm like, all right, the flight has changed. It's now like about 45 minutes late. I go and I walk all the way back down to security. There's literally nothing. And I was like, can I spend USD here? Because now I'm in Colombia. Can I spend USD and get change? Give me change? No. Sometimes they will, but like all the places that were there, they were like more smaller mom and pop kind of shops. So no. So I was like, all right, I don't have any cash. These are like cardinal rules. Like, this is in my, especially solo women traveling at night. Not smart. Just not smart. This happened to me once in Senegal, but I had a host that basically did everything, talked to the people, walked to find us because he knew his address was unfindable. So, all this stuff. Then I check again. The flight is delayed again. So now I'm just walking around getting my steps in at this point. And guess what? The crackers, them saltines came in handy, because I went and I sat down somewhere and I ate my crackers. I ate my good old trusty crackers. Now, so our flight finally comes at 8. I think the flight arrived at like 8 something. So they have to let the folks off the plane and put us on. They actually let us through while the people were still deplaning, right? And we're standing in the aisle. They're still cleaning the plane. They have us literally at the door of the plane, which is the weirdest. I've never seen that before. And I think they did it to calm people, even though I don't think people were irate. Like, I didn't even notice it, but kind of to get us on. We were only 45 minutes late, 50 minutes late overall, So we get on the plane. I'm thinking we're not going to take off till 9 something, a little after 9. We take off at 8:52. So up until this point, I'm messaging my host, right? Now, I'm on Airbnb, and if you guys have ever... The further the car gets away, the louder it gets. If you guys have ever been on Airbnb, you know that once you book up, and like the day before, you get all the information, the direction, which is the address, the Wi-Fi, how to check in, all of this. And so my host had let me know that she was planning on being out, but she would, if that was okay for me to check in a different way. And I was like, yeah, that's no problem. And so I was keeping her informed to let her know, hey, don't rush. My flight is late now. And the airport is about 20-30 minutes from where I was going. I still don't have cash, but I'm like, okay, there's got to be a way. We land in Cali, and it's bigger than Manta, but it ain't that much bigger. But you walk through, so I'm waiting for my bed. There's only 2 baggage claims. So FYI, just y'all just understand there's only two baggage claims. Um, so you get your bag and you walk out, and you walk out. Like you go, um, yeah, you just walk out. So I'm thinking there's got to be an ATM. There's got to be an ATM. There's got to be, maybe not a SIM card place. Although I still think that that's semi strange, but I guess because they consider it a smaller city, I get it, right? But I'm like, as long as I can get data and Wi-Fi. The airport didn't have Wi-Fi. I was like, okay, so we're gonna have to wing it. I got the address. Walk up to a taxi stand. Now, normally I would like Uber or whatever, but I can't. I can't call. Can't do an Uber. So whatever the cost is going to be, I need to be able to pay it. So I walk up to a stand instead of walking to the street because I don't have cash. So this is when like your logic and knowledge and just being, smart, street smart, has to kick in. Well, I can't get in a cab without cash, right? It's 9 o'clock. No, at this point it's after 9, almost 10 o'clock at night. I need to make sure that I'm taken care of and covered. So I go to the booth at the airport, and it says Visa and all that. And I was like, tienes tarjeta credito? And he was like, sí. But he asked for cash, and I was like, solo Ecuadorian USD. Tango Solo Ecuadorian USD, right? That's all I have. Even though that ain't probably the order that they put the words in, he understood. So I showed him the address from Airbnb. So this is where it starts to get tricky. So not only did I not follow my own rules of making sure that I had a SIM card and cash, because I just knew in the other two airports or areas that I was going to be in that at some point I'd pass at least an ATM. Y'all, I don't know if they had it hidden behind the staircase or what, but there was like not an ATM. There wasn't even an ATM outside. And so it was crazy. So I go up, he takes credit card, I show him the address, he pulls it up, he calls some people, and some other people come over, and this guy comes. So I pay for it online. It's 57,000. Is that right? 57,000. Which, easy calculation, I think our exchange is 5,000 COP to 1 USD. So just divide by 5,000. So that came up to like $11. I was like, okay, that ain't bad. And they used on my credit card, so I didn't need cash. So at least at this point, I know I can get from the airport to my Airbnb. I'll deal with the other stuff today. Y'all, that was 10:30. I got to a hotel at 12:32, 12:43, something like that. Driving around, because my first cue that it was going to be a long night was he pulled off and didn't know where we were going. And I was like, how do you not know where we're going? And he was, showing you the address and all. Like, how do you not know? So long story short, the address that my host gave me in the directions, and I'm a ex Airbnb host. So you have your address set up. Once people book, they have access to your direct actual location. So it never occurred to me that she typed out the address and it was different than that one. She had sent me a message, but we had been communicating through Wi-Fi, through WhatsApp. So she hadn't typed it in WhatsApp. She typed it in Airbnb. But when I'm in Airbnb and I'm looking for the address to show, I just go to direction because I could just click on it. I know that's going to open even without data, without Wi-Fi. So I click on it, give them the address. And it was befuddling me why everybody was just so confused, because I was like, I don't understand, what's the deal? Now, this is the first place also that I've been as well where my Google Maps was black. Like, it wouldn't even, how you can normally pick up offline, even if you don't have data, like it'll show the map and you can see your blue mark. Nothing. First time. I haven't had that happen since probably Cuba, and it didn't even happen in Cuba. My mark just didn't move, so I used maps.me instead of Google. So that was the first time, right? So I'm just like, oh snap, I can't even see where I'm going. So he stops and he asks me where we're going. So I give him the address, I show it to him, and so he's saying it in his phone instead of just typing it. So you start to see the combative, the collective things that are going to add up and make this a long day, a very long day. So we're driving around. We get in town. We, hit a spot, and then he pulls over on this street, and he asks me, and we sit there. He turns the car off and everything. We're just on this side street, and I'm trying to explain it and show him the picture that she had sent me and everything, and I'm just, yada yada, all this. And he's just like, and he's speaking in Spanish, and like different Spanish, and I'm using the translator. But what was interesting is he didn't even want to read the translator. I was like, me no comprende, so you got to read this. So then I was like, can you take me to a hotel? Because if I can get to a hotel or a bank, that time it's late. If I can get to a hotel, I can use the Wi-Fi in the hotel and just call her. So at this point, I can't call her, I can't message her. He was like, he didn't understand that. Oh, so before that, I said, can we call her from your phone? That took like 5 minutes. So I was like, your phone. And he was like, she doesn't have this number, which she didn't. So what I then tried to do was add her to his WhatsApp, because I can't even scan because I don't have the data. And, I can't scan her and send the message. They have to connect. Well, I can't add her because I can't add her to his contacts because she doesn't have a Colombian number. Y'all, it's crazy. I'm trying to. So nothing, like the logical things weren't working. So I was like, I go into survival mode. Just take me somewhere, a tienda, or a big hotel. He didn't understand. He was like, which hotel? I was like, I don't know what you all have here. You have Google. Can we search? Right? It was really, and he was an older guy, right? It was really crazy. So we drive around from that point. We're looking, and I'm like, Azul Casa, it's a blue casa. So he kept saying, what's the hotel name? I said, it's not a hotel, it's an apartment. And then she said, it's next to a gallery. Well, I didn't think to ask her for the art gallery name, because he was like, what's the art gallery name? I was like, I don't know. It's not in it's not in anything, right? Y'all, I'm usually so on top of things. So anyway, then we stop on this other street. He pulls around. I go, this is not it. I can guarantee you this is not the area. Like, I can look at it and see it's not, because of the gates and stuff like that, and they're older homes, and it's the way it's made, and this is just not the area. So he pulls up, he sees somebody, he stops a car, which is something that I'm used to seeing in Africa. This is what they did all the time. They never knew where they were going. They would pull over and just ask somebody, tell me which way to go, and they'd point them around. So the 3 people came outside. A lady came out in her bra. I think she could speak a little bit of English. Her boyfriend or husband, or brother, one of the 2, 3, and her mom, somebody's mom, all came outside trying to assist, because he was speaking in Spanish. And then I was like, well, just can you get me to a hotel? And she was like, well, is it a hotel? That she goes, well, he's confused because he said you said it's a apartment. I said, I am. Let's forget about the place that I'm trying to go to, because we can't find it. Can we go to a hotel? She's like, well, which hotel? I said, I've never been here. I don't know which hotels you because I don't know, they got a Holiday Inn, they might, we're in college, they didn't even have an ATM at the airport. So like, I'm thinking, do y'all even have big chains? And at this point, like, I can't think of any, and I can't even go on. Like, I'm telling you, my Google map was black. Like, it was a dot, but it was just black. Like, I couldn't see anything, so I couldn't even scroll. So I said, can we search Wi-Fi? Like, no tengo Wi-Fi. I don't have Wi-Fi. Y'all, so finally he hands his phone over so that I can just search, and I just start looking. So they're trying to find me a hotel for me, and I'm like, let me just find my own, at this point, right? So I'm looking, and I go, where are we? Donde aquí? Like, where are we right now? And she was like, we're in a neighborhood. I was like, no, on the map, can you point to it? Because I want to find the place that's closest to where we are so I can be done with this. Yeah, I was like, I literally, my fight or flight was, it was the point of like, just let me out. I'm like, you got this big, but where are you gonna go? And I was like, you gotta figure that. But what he was so determined to find the house, he wouldn't listen to anything else, right? And I was like, you can't find it. We can't find it. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Just get me somewhere where I can be in a space where I can at least use Wi-Fi. I can figure out if I have to call another taxi, I will, you know. And at this point, it's 12:32. I was supposed to arrive at like 10 something. I still have not been able to contact my host. Oh Lord. So we finally get on his Google. I find a hotel. She shows me where we are. I just scroll and find a hotel. Luckily I picked one that was decent, y'all. I got a full kitchen, studio. It's like got bunk beds. It's like for family or whatever. Couch, television, stove. I mean, like it's decent. $16 a night, and they take credit card. Tarjeta credito, and it's got little seating areas. I'll send you guys pictures of this. That was easier. Hell, it would have been just easy. I would have just done that. But oops. The kicker was the fact that a combination of things, not getting the SIM card. And I know a lot of people are like, don't ever get a SIM card from the airport. This is why I vehemently disagree with that. Unless you're with a tour group, unless you already have somebody picking you up. And I've had that happen in Senegal. And when you're in Africa, we were from Cape Verde, we went from Portugal to Cape Verde to Senegal. And when we got to Cape Verde, because the connecting flight that was supposed to join our flight was late, they were 3 hours late, my designated ride couldn't pick me up, because at this point I wasn't going to arrive till 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. So now I got to figure it out, right? So those things don't always work out well. And when you're like a nomadic traveler, you can't bank on, tour systems and stuff like that, because you just don't know how things work. There's always something that can happen when you have delays and just different things. So that's why I am adamant, even if you get buy 1 gig, because at the very least you have a SIM card. Because at least then you have a SIM card, right? And then you can just go and reload data at that point. This is why I stress that so much. So I was agitated at that. But then, so what happened today is my host sent me, she said, this is the address for today. She sent the address, and she sent the screenshot of something she had typed in Airbnb. But I missed it. She typed the address. When I looked, it's not the same, right? So I go and I typed in, because it's a screenshot, I can't even click it. She didn't send a location finder from Google. I go and I type it in. It pulls up a different address, 2 of them. One is 2 kilometers away from me, and the other one's 450 feet. And I was like, that can't be, right? So I said, well, which one is it? And she was like, well, I don't know, because it's not pinpointing. And I said, it doesn't say this address. She asked me what neighborhood I was in. I was like, I have no idea. I've never been here. I have no idea what neighborhood I'm in. And so she was like, well, I don't know where that pinpoint is from what you typed. And I literally typed exactly verbatim what she said, but it pulls up 2 addresses that look identical, but they're not in the same place. Y'all, I thought Africa is really bad because the street names, Google doesn't match what's actually on the street signs. But this was crazy, right? So she goes and she says, she sends me an address, but it's the address of the art gallery. And she was like, I don't know why this was, there was such a, a difficult time. And now I realize it, because the address that she puts in her Airbnb direction is not her address. So the people last night, they kept saying it doesn't exist. That address is not a correct address. And I was just I was so frustrated. They were absolutely right. It's not a correct address. But she never said anything about that address. So I'm going to mention it and say, this is the address that I went off of. I forgot that you typed it. Nor did it occur to me that it would be different from the final address that you give. So when the day before you check in, all this stuff pops up top, directions, you can click on Wi-Fi, how to check in and all of that, because it's digital, right? Never would have occurred to me, go and check and see if it matches the one that she sent you, why would it be different, right? Just didn't even think about it. So it could have been avoided 3 ways. If I had got the SIM card, if she would have had the address that matched in her Airbnb information, it's just a couple of different things that could have stopped this whole debacle. So in the interim, I ended up finding a hotel, booked for a night, and so I'm actually getting ready to go. And these people honk their horns It should be a horn ordinance in these places. Everywhere, honks their horns, except like the U.S. Not like this, anyway. Um, so I'm going to head over to her today and see if I can't find it. But now at least I have the art gallery, so I'm going to go to the art gallery, which is next door to her, and then get my keys and all that stuff and mosey around. But I have literally walked around this entire, not the entire city, but a big part of it, and it's cool. It's a decent place. It's nice. Temperature is nice enough to walk around, so I've enjoyed my time so far through all of that. So I'm still going to stand by, get a SIM card when you're at the airport. If you're going to be staying in a place, moving around, or even if you're doing tours and they're off the beaten path or in the mountains or, whatever, sometimes you still can't get data. But if you're traveling solo, have a way to communicate, because relying on people's Wi-Fi, airport Wi-Fi, things like that, it's not worth it, And then on top of that, like even trying to get him to hotspot the driver, and I think had he had been younger, he would have been more like he would have been more open, but he was so determined to get me to that address that he couldn't see, dude, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Just take me to a hotel. But they have an Intercontinental here, they have a Sonesta here, but I didn't know any of that because I can't see it. But I'm happy with what I got for the price range, because y'all know I'm budget traveling as well, so I'm not trying to spend $150-$200 for one night when that's more than what I'm paying for a whole week. Why do I have to? So anyway, got in the hotel, took a nice shower, got in bed. The sheets were clean. They have bed covers, and it was super quiet. I thought it was going to be really loud. I can't hear people next door. I don't know, how many people are in the hotel, but it was decent, y'all. So I'll share some pictures and videos of that. That was my travel woes. I have more information to share with just like nuances of places like Ecuador and Colombia, in terms of requirements and, different things that they do or do not allow. As you know, both Ecuador and Colombia are pretty much like the last ones to open up. Ecuador just, really opened up when I got there, like opened up. And so they're recovering, and then Colombia as well. Colombia just in May or June eliminated the requirement of the Vax card, but they still ask for it. So just be, aware of those types of things. When you're out here on this road. So anyway, y'all, I'm gonna get off of here so I can go and walk back to my hotel, because my Google Maps actually shows up now. Because I've actually downloaded just this city into my offline maps. Another tip: download the cities, which I thought I had done, but apparently I had not. I thought I downloaded all of Colombia, but apparently I didn't. So, and I'll keep y'all posted on what's going on in my life here. So, bienvenidos de Colombia. I am welcomed to Colombia. I have broken myself in, so I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all know the drill. Toodles and noodles. Peace and hair grease.